Without further ado, I'd like to introduce County Executive Dow Constantine.
Thanks, Marcy. Thank you, Marcy. Thank you for organizing today's event and for inviting me and us to participate. And thanks to all of you for being here to help get out the vote for Proposition 1. It is true. The 34th District is underperforming right now relative to some other districts in the region. We need to tell our family, friends, neighbors, random strangers at the grocery store to find their ballots and that pile of stuff on their desks or dining tables, get them filled out, and get them mailed back by next Tuesday, the 22nd of April. As you know, it is absolutely crucial that Prop 1 passed on April 22nd. Brief history. So Metro Transit is funded by fares and by general taxes. And the general taxes used to be motor vehicle excise tax, a tax based on the value of your vehicle. So although no one likes to pay taxes, that one bore some resemblance to your ability to pay. The more expensive your car, the more you paid to help support the system. The motor vehicle excise tax was wiped out by a Tim Lyman initiative a decade and a half ago. And the legislature replaced that funding for transit with a sales tax, a local sales tax authority. The problem with sales taxes is that when the economy stops working, people stop spending. And due to forces well beyond our control that do not bear discussion today, the economy fell to pieces and we saw our revenues plummet for transit. During the time between the start of the recession and now, we've lost over $1.2 billion versus what was anticipated to come in to provide transit service. And that money is not coming back. Even as the economy recovers, that money is never going to come back. It's lost forever. So in order to keep the buses on the road, we did a lot of things. We first of all, and this was coinciding with the beginning of my first administration, organized a county-wide group of stakeholders to think through and remake the way in which we allocate transit dollars so that we can get the most value for every transit dollar. And they recommended a new system that we adopted that's based on performance and geographic and social equity, and not based on historical accident, right? And that is saving a lot of money, as is our response to our own audit that had over 32 findings of things we could be doing better, and we're doing all of those better. Our drivers came to the table and agreed to forego their cost of living adjustment during the bottom of the recession in order to help keep people moving, keep our buses on the road. And then the legislature, seeing these reforms, did something the legislature is loath to do, which they granted us a revenue source, but it was only 2 years, and it was only $20 per vehicle, a flat charge of $20 per vehicle. That expires this June. So all of this allowed us to keep the current level of service on the road. We lost $1.2 billion, but we were able to yield something on the order of $130 million per year in efficiencies, and that is going to be ongoing. But now the new charge is running out. The efficiencies have been gotten that are going to be gotten. We have consolidated our routes quite a bit, and we will continue to refine and modify them. This is not going to, by any means, close the gap. And we are now faced, after asking the legislature for 5 years for a transportation package that they never delivered, we're now faced with dramatic cuts to Metro service. Now, Marcy, you mentioned the legislature, and I just want to say that a lot of legislators worked very hard to create a statewide package that included local options like the motor vehicle tax that was lost in that Iman initiative. That would have allowed us to put before the people a progressive tax source that would adequately fund Metro. But the House passed such a package. The Senate Majority Coalition Caucus, which is just to say the Senate Republicans plus Rodney Tom and Tim Sheldon, refused even to bring a measure to the floor for a vote. Even for state highways, which they supposedly love, they would not bring it up for a vote. So we are faced with the prospect of going alone, the reality of going alone, and that's what we're doing. We are not going to follow the path that has been taken by our neighbors to the south and north. Snohomish County has cut more than 1/3 of its bus service. And if you want to take a bus on Sunday, you're out of luck, because they don't have any. And to the south, Pierce has lost 43% of their transit service. So if you're out late nights, you're probably going to be walking in Pierce County. Working together, we can avoid these cuts. We've worked together with the county council, and then the county council and I have worked together with interest across this region. From environment and transit advocates, certainly, to advocates for underprivileged communities and the business community broadly. The business community has been at the table. They've stepped up to helping fund this campaign. And there's only a tiny, tiny segment of ideologues centered around a certain group in Bellevue who have come out against it. And the Seattle Times, which doesn't even bear. We'll ask Governor Rossi and Governor McKenna about that. So everybody's on board here. And everybody knows that we have done our homework making Metro more efficient, that we have done our work trying to work in coalition with the legislature, and we have reached the point where we have no choice but to turn to people to save their transit service, to help people, to help the environment, and to keep this economy, this economic recovery going. So thank you all for being willing to go out and talk to your neighbors and remind them to find that ballot under that pile of mail on their kitchen table, and get it filled out and get it returned. This is the way, really ultimately that we're going to win this election. It's not going to be through big advertising. It's not going to be through fancy TV. It's going to be through person-to-person, face-to-face contact, explaining to people what's at stake. Now let's get out there and do it. Thank you very much.
Can I ask you with a quick question?
Sure, you got it.
Thank you. So you and I spoke at Safeco Field one time, and I said, can we put some developmentally disabled parking under Spokane Street Viaduct? Because there is no developmentally disabled parking. And as we've got seniors here, and we all like to go to baseball games, my thought is using transit to connect with this potential parking situation, so we can get people like my brother a place to park, and we don't have to pay $20, $30, $40.
No, that's a fantastic idea, and I need to work with the city on that, because they own the street. But Tom and I will talk with you after,
What do I do?
After the transit rally.
What do I do? Do I send you both an email?
That'd be great, yeah.
Because
sure.
this is a transit issue,
Yeah.
and it's a way of making it more effective for all of us. Thank you.
That's a fantastic idea. Thank you.
So does anybody else have any questions? And first of all, I'd like to ask Joe and Tom if they would like to speak as well.
Sure.
That'd be great. And if you have questions about how this works, these folks are going to be the best people to talk to if you want to know some idiosyncrasy about this. So, Joe, would you like to start?
Thank you, Marcy.
You're welcome.
Marcy and Dow have really set this, talked about the history and how we've come to where we are with the ballot measure before us. I want to talk for a minute about acknowledging that we do know that turnout has been, ballot return to date has been low in the 34th, but we also knew going in that an April 22nd ballot would be a low turnout election. It's imperative that we reach voters, remind them to vote. We have targeted lists for you today of known frequent voters, people who are likely to return the ballot. We need to reach out to them, remind them, encourage them to support Metro, to support roads across Seattle and King County, because the measure does include roads funding as well. And that personal touch is going to be really impactful. If they don't ride the bus and they don't think this will benefit them, point out that really one of the most startling facts I learned about Metro since joining the council 3 years ago is that 90% of bus riders have a car at home. 90% of the people riding Metro have a car at home. That means that if we have to institute cuts of almost 17%, almost 600,000 hours countywide. The estimate is that would put over 30,000 more cars on the road every day. So the failure of Prop 1 and the resulting reductions in Metro service would affect everyone in the county, whether you're a bus commuter, whether you drive, or whether you're just waiting for goods and services to arrive in your neighborhood at your house. So it's imperative that we take our list today, we go talk to voters, we give them the personal appeal, and I want to thank you for joining me in that effort today.
Can I ask another question? I'm
One of
the-
let us finish ours, and then we can talk to you about your
No, I
personal
wanted to
issues.
ask what we're doing in a broader advertising sense to get the word out in addition to today.
April can answer that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
April will answer that when she gets here.
She'll be back shortly.
Well, as Dow said, and Marcy said, I'm Tom Rasmussen, Chair of the Transportation Committee of the Seattle City Council. And while Metro is a county agency, Metro is important to all of us in King County. And what's incredibly unique about this campaign and our effort to fund Metro is that we are all united, cities and counties throughout King County. We've been going to Olympia, you come back empty-handed. So now the ball's in our court. And what I was thinking that might help you as you go out to the community and the neighborhoods, which I think is so incredibly important, because if you doorbell a precinct, I've learned that you win. But if you don't doorbell it, it's much more risky. The question is, who uses the West Seattle Bridge? Anyone? Anyone drive across the West Seattle Bridge? Whether you take the bus or whether you drive, who uses it? We all do. So what will happen if we have more cars on the West Seattle Bridge? Congestion, gridlock, and delay. So whether or not you take the bus or whether you drive, the proposition 1 matters. I mean, that is the answer to helping to prevent congestion. It's transit. In our case, it's Metro. So if people wonder, why does it matter? Why should I vote for it? It's because you don't want to be stuck on the West Seattle Bridge for 40 minutes or an hour and a half, as we are sometimes. This matters to everyone in West Seattle. And I would say, wake up, West Seattle. If you're not getting your ballots in, if they're buried, as Al said, at the bottom of your mail pile, dig that thing out, because we've got 10 days to get that ballot back. So it's down to crunch time. We've done everything we can in Olympia. They failed us. Now we have to go to the voters, and we need success at the polls to prevent that congestion that I was talking about. So Metro matters to all of us, and so does Proposition 1. Yes, Les?
I have a question. I've been seeing opposition yard signs in the right-of-ways
Right.
around Magnolia and
Yeah.
Lake City. Is that legal, and will I be in trouble if I pull them?
Well, they're not supposed to be in the public right of way.
That's what I understood.
And I suppose if you want to take the risk of removing them, crossing the traffic, that's usually where they are, is on the right of way. I suppose you could do that if you wish. You might engender some, opposition from someone who's put those things in, so you just need to be cautious about that. I've asked our office and elections officer about that, and they say, no, they can't put those in, but generally it's done so frequently by so many candidates and so many campaigns, it's just something that is very, very hard to support. But as Dow said, there is a campaign against it. It's funded by some business folks, I think, in Bellevue, who've never supported transit, never liked transit, no matter what. They just think the answer is automobiles. If you think the answer is automobiles, go look at 405. Look at how much wider it is today than it was 5 or 10 years ago. Has that solved the gridlock problem and traffic problems? Absolutely not. The answer is transit, and this is one element of how we can help transit. So thank you so much for coming out on such a beautiful day when you can be working in the garden, you can be bike riding.
Or walking around your neighborhood.
Walking in your neighborhood is a good way of meeting your neighbors and also smelling the roses. Yes?
I have a question that's come up as I've talked to people, and
Right.
it's around the vehicle license tab fee.
Yeah?
And the low-income people are going to be getting a rebate. But the question I'm getting is, yeah, but I still have to put this initial money out first before I get that rebate. So they're wondering if they can make payments. And I can't answer that. I don't know how that system's going to be set
Dow
up.
can talk about kind of the process.
And maybe that's an April question.
So the legislature, so the reason we have this particular proposal is because that's all the authority there is under state legislation.
Right.
Sales tax and vehicle license fee, which is the flat fee, and $20 increments up to $100, we're asking for 60. Sales tax up to 0.2, we're asking for 0.1. The legislature did include in the, who was it who championed this in the legislature, the rebate?
Senator Fox.
Oh, okay, Senator Frocht included this opportunity for a rebate to people below a certain income, and the county council, I think wisely, has included that as part of the proposal. The legislation does not have any provision for making payments over time. It doesn't have any provision for just withholding your $20 and sending in the rest. And that's a challenge with a lot of different revenue sources. They're very clunky. They don't necessarily reflect the way we live today, where you might have money deducted in small amounts automatically from your checking account, or sometimes people want to go put something on a credit card and they're not able to. But again, we're playing the hand we've been dealt. And when we look at the choices, the choice to lose a big chunk of the transit system and strand a lot of folks who don't have another choice and tie up traffic all over the region is the less palatable of the choices. We also, though, and I want to make clear, we've raised bus fares 5 times over the last several years, right? So people always say, well, why are the passengers paying for this? Passengers are paying for this. They're paying as much or more for transit as drivers are paying for the road system, with the rest coming from general taxes. But that is a burden on low-income people as well. So we, for the first time, this council and I, put together a low-income fare. And it's going to be
150, 125 for the first 2 years if Prop 1 passes.
Okay, 150, 125 for the first 2 years if Prop 1 passes. You would think this would be a common practice across the country. And in fact, it's going to be unusual, if not completely unique, that a system of our size will have a low-income fare. You'll be able to prove your income, get a pass, and use that in order that we can have mobility. Because part of the point of the system is to allow people who are struggling to get that first rung of the economic ladder, to get to school, to get to training, to get to the job interview, and then to get to the job that they land. And that's really what's at stake here. That's really what's at stake. So thank you for the question, I appreciate it. And we, of course, will be back in the legislature this year and next year and the year after that, trying to get them to give us better tools that are fairer and more supportive of the transportation we need.